Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Pros and cons to a lighted knock. Well, we are going to change our balancing point. And these two arrows are both exactly the same. They are cut 28.5-inch shaft to shaft. And these are Easton arrows. These are the Power Flight series, 400 spine, 400 grain. Okay. Now, we're going to be adding, obviously, a little bit of extra weight by throwing on the knock because the knock weighs twice as much as the Easton knock. So if we look at knock weights here, the Easton knock I pulled off, whoop, I'll grab the other one, same thing. Let's just grab the one we actually pulled, because knocks sometimes have plus or minus. So that's 12.1 grains for the Easton knock, okay? Now, if we take off our lighted knock here, .24.5 grains. So we are 12.5 grains more tail weight now. The question is, how does this affect arrow flight? Well, it's definitely going to affect it because we are changing the balancing point of the arrow, right? We're shifting the balance, and so we want to know though, what about impact difference? Like, is this going to drop my POI, raise my POI? What's it going to do to the arc, etc.? Now, you have balancing points on every arrow, right? Like this one's sitting here, and if we were to take a look at this as far as how many inches it is, let me just get this set up. Come on, settle down. Okay, so I'm going to pinch this right about there. So this gives us 12 and 3/8. So we're at 12 and 3/8 out the front. Okay, that's with the lighted knock. Let's take this one. And this is going to move it to 11 3/4 out the front. So a bit of a difference there. What's the difference in flight? Well, let's go outside and find out. All right, guys, so we're going to shoot the stock arrow first, then the one with the lighted knock. We'll do this a couple of rounds, see what our average is, see how our impact changes, see if we get any tail movement, and just see if it's even worth going to lighted knocks or not for the extra weight. But let's see what happens. I'm going to go back to 20 yards with my Matthews mission bow, because that's what these arrows are dialed in for, and that bow is set at 56 pounds. Not that that part matters, but let's do this. Let's go inside and talk. All right, guys, so I went through the footage myself. This way we could finish this video. I'm not impressed with these little things. They fit loose, but they fit too loose, I think. I checked the tension against my PSE Stinger bow, and they're virtually identical. They're just as sloppy. You can run them up and down the string without even trying, you know. The only hope these things might have is on my Bear Apprentice, because the serving string on it is like more than twice as thick. So they might work on that bow. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we'll revisit this on that bow. But they're definitely not going to work with the beans on my Matthews Mission hammer or on my old PSE Stinger 3G. Now that thing's from like 2013. My Mission bow is a new bow, and so with stock string on the Mission for sure. I'm pretty sure the Stinger probably is too. You never know. But my Mission definitely has a stock string from the factory, and I've had no problems firing off arrows with either, you know, the Easton nocks on them or the cheap Chinese nocks. They work, right? And they work fine in both my Stinger and my Matthews bow. But using these nocks, well, it would appear from what we saw, they're all over the place with the arrow, okay? So there's no consistency because they fit too loose. Now, the only way you're going to make these things work, and I'm willing to bet these are the cheap Chinese knockoffs. I mean, there is just no branding anywhere. I've, you know, gone with the magnifying glass and thinking, maybe something's embossed here. There's got to be something, and there is absolutely nothing to indicate any kind of branding on this. So, and I've seen, you know, packs of 3 of these things that'll cost you like 60 and 70 bucks. We're talking Canadian bucks too, by the way. And then I see the Chinese knockoffs that are really cheap, and you can pretty much get a dirty dozen for like 35, 40 bucks, right? So I don't think that, well, let me just put you this way. If you buy lighted nocks that fit your string properly and your arrows fire properly, you have basically a couple of advantages with lighted nocks. Number one, if your animal ends up on its side when it dies and your arrow is sticking up because it's still in the animal, you're going to have an easier time finding that animal, especially at night, because you're going to see that glow, right? So that is advantage number one to a lighted nock. Advantage number two to a lighted nock is if you get a pass through, you're going to be able to find your arrow come nighttime, okay? So that's advantage number two. Other than that, you're going to add a few extra grains of weight, okay, to your arrow. Now, it is going to add back weight, and that will require resighting your bow, maybe, okay? It kind of depends on how things go. Now, we do know that we've changed the balance point quite a bit just by adding on this 24 grain nock as opposed to a stock, you know, 12 grain, right? So we're adding more weight to the back. We're changing its balance point, actually quite a lot more than what I thought it would be. I thought it would be far less. Turns out it's far more. So this is going to affect arrow flight, which means you could possibly be looking at a full recalibration of your bow. Now, if you're running a high-performance sight like a Spot Hog or an HHA or some other brand like that, where we're talking high-precision dial-in sights, that could screw up your whole setup just switching to lighted nocks, okay? But if you buy lighted nocks, even a normal brand name, and they don't fit your serving correctly, you're going to end up having to redo your serving to make it thicker, okay? That's going to be probably your worst case scenario, and that could be, you know, if you're doing it yourself and you have the time and energy and desire to do that, fine, and you have the skills to do it, that's fantastic. I don't have the skill level to do it, and I really don't want to pay my archery guy to redo my serving string all in the name of a holy nock to try and use a lighted nock on my bow, which still may or may not work properly in the end. And if it does mean a complete recalibration of the bow for the sight, it is definitely not worth my friggin' energy to do that. It was hell on wheels as it was to set up my Spot Hog. I don't want to go through that crap again. In fact, where it's set now is absolutely dime perfect. I'm not changing a thing about that bow. I've decided I'm leaving it alone. I'm not even going to bother pushing that sight in, that last nub in, you know, and recalibrating, because I've got it set bang perfect now. I want to leave it that way. So I don't think lighted nocks are worth the extra expense, other than probably people who want an easier time maybe tracking their animal. Now, if you do get a pass through, you're going to be back to looking for the blood trail, okay? For sure, 100%. You're still looking for a blood trail anyways, because you don't know which side that animal is going to lay down when it does die. So if the arrow is still in it, it could be invisible to you. So you're going to be tracking a blood trail no matter what. If you get a pass through, at least you're going to find out where your arrow is in a low light situation. You'll easily be able to retrieve your arrow. Now, at the very least, your arrow might be toast, but at least your nock will still be intact. You can swap it to another arrow. Other than that, I really don't. I don't think I would even myself bother with these. Now, some sponsor from Amazon or whatever wants me to try out their lighted stuff. Sure, I'll give it a go because it doesn't cost me anything, right? And maybe I'll get one that'll send me a name brand one that actually will work, and I'll change my opinion. But as it stands right now, no go for lighted nocks in my opinion. What works right now is working absolutely perfect. And all the Easton arrows I have that get shot on all my bows, and I have some off-brand arrows as well, they all work fine with the nocks that are there. And I've had zero issues. So why would I want to give myself a friggin' migraine or a stroke or a coronary to deal with something like this? No way. So for that reason, I'm out when it comes to lighted nocks, but if you want to use them, by all means, even if you do buy a name brand one, you still may have to change the thickness of your serving because it might be too thin, or maybe it's too thick and you're gonna have to thin it out to accommodate that brand name high mucky muck thing to work right with your bow. You're gonna find out though. All you gotta do is pop a few of them onto your arrows, shoot some stock arrows, and then compare with what you're getting for results. Make sure you do that at least 10 or 12 times in a row, though, to make sure you have consistency. And if it works for you, fantastic. If it's not working and they shoot all over the place, even with higher level brand names, well, guess what? You're going to have to make some changes. Either say screw it and go back to what you've been using that has worked all this time, or you're going to have to modify that serving string to accommodate them. And this is something you will run into even with brand name nocks. You're going to run in because all of our bows are different. Companies make the serving string at all different thickness types, etc., etc. So, this is the thing. But so far, everything I've got and all the different strings and brands of strings on bows that I have, my Easton nocks are fine. My cheap Chinese nocks are fine. Why would I want to change from what actually is working now? And that's kind of where the bottom line hits on that one. But it was a good test, though, and I learned something from this myself. Thank goodness I didn't have to pay for the 3 of these things. So, because darn, that would have been a waste. See ya.